All right. Hi, I'm Eugene Marshall of Arcanist Press and Sigil Entertainment, and this is Sigil Spotlight. We are a diverse community of tabletop industry creators spotlighting each other's work. This session, we're featuring Stardrawn by Linda Codega. Stardrawn is a GMless, tarot-based story game. Now, that's a little bit of a departure from what we've been playing, so since we have the creator here, Lynn will do a little bit of explanation once we get going, and they will be facilitating play for the rest of us. Now, before I begin, I'd like to thank Sigil Entertainment for supporting the stream, providing our graphics and overlays, Roll20 for providing us a virtual tabletop, and our own creators for making tonight's fun possible. And to make sure it stays fun, we are employing safety tools, and we'll be talking more about those today. So thanks to Bree Bo Sheldon, Lauren Bryant Monk, Kenna Shaw, Monty Cook Games, John Stravopoulos, and everyone else who's provided these tools for us. If you click on the show notes, if you look below the Twitch screen, you will see a link to those safety tools. You will also find a link to Lynn's itch page, which is where they put their games, and one of the games being Stardrawn, so definitely go check that out. All right, so I'm going to pass it over to Lynn, and they will explain how we are using safety tools in this game. I just would want to draw your attention as well, if you're looking at home, along the bottom of the Roll20 screen, there are these little buttons. That's how we're going to use, that's one way we're going to use the safety tools in the game. So we might show those off as well. Lynn?
Hello. So this is one of my games. I'm very excited to play it. It was directly inspired by the party that the Ewoks have at the end of Star Wars. And the fact that Star Wars is this really expansive legacy game that goes backwards and forwards in time in different interesting ways. So that's the basis of this game. The story basically revolves around people who were involved in a war that they won. But dealing with that trauma and dealing with that loss is really hard, and this is a game about that. So that being said, there will be, this is kind of like a general content warning for like violence and wartime and things of that nature. So just be careful if you hear something that like you think might be triggering. It might be triggering. This is a game about war. And death. It's not pretty. That being said, we are employing safety tools. We're using pause, rewind, stop, which we have all discussed before on stream. But stop is like, we're going to stop and we're going to take a deep breath and see how to rewrite what we've just said. Rewind is we're going to go back and do something differently in order to make the game safer for other people. Pause just means go slowly, like frame by frame. We're also going to be doing frequent tools. We're going to do okay, and then everyone should just respond like, oh yeah, we're fine. Like this is safe territory. We're all doing fine. Situation normal. But also, besides these safety tools that are actually, roommate. Besides the safety tools which are actually like baked into Roll20, Stardrawn as a game has safety tools written into the system. There's something called revision where people will be able to revise the narrative as to make it either safer or more interesting or just a better fit for our game. We'll also be doing a palette while we play. There's a part of the game where we actually determine how the war ended and like what the celebration looks like. And in doing so, we will be able to define the terms of our game, and we'll be able to define like, well, this is what happened and this is like how we feel about it. And that way we'll be able to set safer boundaries for each other. I'm a firm believer that safety tools can't just be tacked onto a game, that they have to actually like be built into the system itself. So this is one of my attempts to explore that. And the best way that I know how to do that is to make things super collaborative and give people the power to say no and say something different. So yeah, safety tools. They're cool. Use them. Everyone needs them. We're going to try it out today. Very excited.
Fantastic. So I guess before we get going, and Lynn will be kind of guiding us through this, though it is GMless, so They're not going to be the GM. They're just going to be someone who knows the game better than we do. But before we begin that, why don't we go ahead and have the rest of us introduce ourselves, everyone introduce themselves and say their pronouns and a little bit about what they do in tabletop role-playing games. As I said, I'm Eugene Marshall. I'm half of Arcanist Press. I'm a lead writer and designer for Sigil Entertainment, and I am here to play Stardrawn. How about, well, Lynn, I guess, did you want to introduce yourself more formally?
Sure, really quickly, my name is Linda. I am an amateur game designer, but I have a lot of fun around here. I use they, them pronouns, and you can hit me up on Twitter.
Fantastic. And yes, those are on the overlay. So there you go. Bashir, how about you?
Hey, I'm Bashir Gauss, he, him. I am also an indie game designer. You can find me at havocfet.itch.io and at Bashir Gauss on Twitter.
Fantastic. And how about you, Gabrielle?
I'm Gabrielle Harboe, she, her pronouns. I'm primarily an editor and proofreader of fantasy and science fiction. I also write novels, and I've written adventures for Pathfinder and for D&D Adventures League.
Fantastic. And we will be featuring one of those in a few weeks. I believe Bashir will be featuring you next week, in fact. Tyler, how about you?
I'm Tyler Clark. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm an artist illustrator. I've done work for a bunch of companies, including Sigil. That's about it.
Fantastic. All right. So, Lynn, would you... So I know that there's some text that's supposed to be read at the beginning, but would you like to read that aloud, or shall I?
I'll read it. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. Let's see.
All right. It is the end of the Empire. The last devotees of the Dark Flame have been pushed back into the deepest glacial planets, and you, the pilot, are celebrating. The Ascendancy has survived and has already begun to establish an auto-republic on the centralized planet of Poirot, a planet of high mountains that has been abandoned for almost 500 years, full of warren-like temples and former mining colonies. This is a time of happiness and hope, of wariness and relief, of anger, anxiety, energy, and love. You fought for the Ascendancy because you loved her, because she loved you. Now in the middle of the party, you're tipsy with the feeling of an end and with the bright lightness of new beginnings. Your nerves buzz like rocket fuel. Your eyes sting with sharp bittersweets as you look up at your comrades and at your lost risers. You look to the stars, to space, to the vast black that is so alive and on fire and not empty at all, because each brightling flame in the sky is still there, still full of life. The planets breathing in their tidal, ancestral orbits of systems and species. You look to the stars, pilot, fighter, riser, air breather, light seer. You who feel warmth and cold and loss and love, and you cry for them.
So, today's game is a tarot-based game, and we've got a tarot deck here on the Roll20 tabletop. I believe, would we like to speak about safety tools here? Is that what we do next?
Yeah, we should talk about lines and veils just very quickly. We will be able to establish these in-game and like manage them in-game. But I think that the main questions that we should be talking about, do we want our player characters to die during the game? Bashir, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it, but does anyone else have like strong feelings on it?
Just a note, your character will not die without your permission. But I do want to know if it's something that you guys are like open to. Like, oh yeah, like if my character dies, like that's not going to hurt me.
I mean, I'm fine with it, but Everyone else okay?
I'm okay.
I'm good with that. Happens all the time in D&D.
Yeah, we'll be careful with it for sure. And then another question. Again, this is a game about war. Do we want discussions of war crimes dealt with during the game? Do we want to sort of admit they happened and not go into them? Do we want to sort of take the history book view of war? Or do we want something different? How do we want to handle that?
Maybe on like a character by character basis.
I'm okay with admitting they happened. I don't particularly want to put anything serious, like major on screen, as it were. So like Star Wars level of war crimes, basically.
Yeah.
Cool.
What Bashir said, yeah.
Yeah, veiling it basically, but not a line. That's where I'd be.
Great. Yeah, that sounds good to me. And the next, and sort of like the last big question that I've included in the game, do you want sex, love, or romance as part of the game? My feelings, but they don't matter because I'm just an observer. Is that anything, like if anything happens, it happens, but you like fade to black pretty quickly? Like,
Yeah.
you're just like, taking a tumble, I guess.
Yeah, that seems like the best way to approach this.
Yeah, veil. I guess that means we're going for a more PG-13 experience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds good to me. Great. Cool. All right. So we are going to start. The way this game works is we are going to set up the system that we're playing. In order to introduce you to the system, we're going to start out by deciding how the war ended. So the way we do this is we just draw a tarot card. But who has the nearest birthday?
Not me.
August 14th.
No.
No way, I'm also August 14th.
Hey!
Well, what about you, Tyler? I'm November, so.
I'm July 12th.
Tyler, it's you, man.
No.
So, do you know? I don't know if you know how to use decks of cards in Roll20. You just hover over the deck, like click into the window and hover over the deck, and one will pop up, and you can just grab it and slide it up and throw it onto the thing.
So I don't click the thing that says draw. I just slide the card.
Yeah, no, slide it, because if you draw it, it'll go over to like it'll be like in your hand, and you can then do that, and then you got to drag it out. So go ahead and throw that out in the center of the thing. There it goes. Oh, let me embiggen it. Oh, can I not embiggen it?
Do I have to embiggen it?
I don't know, maybe.
There we go. All right, it's embiggened on my end.
Weird. I'm co-GM in this one, so I'm not.
It's embiggened here.
Okay. Whoops. All right. Well, that'll work. All right.
Really quick,
Yes.
sorry.
Go ahead.
It looks like you didn't move when the players moved on Roll20.
Ah, that's why.
Yeah.
Thank you. I apologize. Yes.
Nope.
I'm not used to being co-GM. I'm not used to sharing the power. Anyway. Sorry.
The power.
Thank you for that. All right. So, yes, that is why. All right. So how did the war end? And we have the King of Wands. So does Tyler begin interpreting what this might mean?
Right.
So this is the galaxy card?
Yeah, this is the first galaxy card. You're fine. This is the first galaxy card, and it will help determine how the war ended. In flames and quiet crumbling victory of attrition and a hushed whisper across the stars that says the Empire is dead. We will go around the table and, using the card as a guide, answer the following questions or reinterpret these questions and then answer them. Anyone can add another broad big picture question. So basically what happens is you're going to go first and you're going to answer one of those questions that have been listed on the page, right? Where did the final victory take place? Who delivered the final blow? You choose whichever one you want it to do. The rest of the group will also answer a question, and then at the end, when it comes back to you, you are going to decide exactly how it all comes together. So go ahead. What question do you choose?
I think since this is like, a very, person-centric, I'm going to do who delivered the final blow.
Nice.
And maybe there was some prophetic figure. Some people think they were a time traveler who ended the war and is like a figure of legend, and they may not even be around at this moment, but everybody feels like this person delivered the final strategic, nail in the coffin.
Cool. And while you're doing this, you can also feel free. Oh, it's just so everyone knows, on stream we all have our little tarot guides. Most of us are using like an online app, but yeah, feel free to reference that if you want. If you like see something in that guide that like speaks to you, just go for it. But yeah, all right. So I like the idea, a prophetic final blow, a legendary prophet. Cool. All right. Why don't we just go? Let's see, Tyler, Bashir, why don't you go next?
All right. So draw one. Oh, draw one.
Nope, you don't draw any.
Oh wait, sorry.
Yeah, we're just answering questions about this
Oh,
card.
we're
Right?
just answering another question based on King of Wands. Right.
Yeah.
I guess I misinterpreted that rule, that guideline, I think. So, I'm going to go with where did the final victory take place, and going with I think in line with the King of Wands, I think the boldest option is like it took place here at the very center of the of our foe, with our it took place pretty much on top of the capital. That it took place pretty much on top of the capital, and we got out here to celebrate for, I think, shortly afterwards.
Perfect. All right. Let's go Eugene and then Gabrielle.
All right.
Gabrielle. Apologize.
So just walking down the list here, we've got where and who. I'm going to say what was lost. So King of Wands to me says mastery of fire and potent energies. So I'm going to say that it was a Pyrrhic victory, and it was a ploy. The leadership of the Dark Flame was lured in to the capital of the Ascendancy, thinking they'd won the victory, but it was a trap. We actually sacrificed the capital planet, our homeland, burning it in fire and destroying the entire Dark Flame's center of their forces and troops. We lost our homeland.
That's sad as hell. All right. Last question.
Last question. What was gained? Well, I agree with Eugene that that flames had to have taken a big part of everything, but this is an interstellar empire, so there are other worlds, and by winning this war, we've now claimed these other worlds as our own, some of which we plan to rule, some of which are uninhabited, so we have a place to start again.
All right. Amazing. All right. So now that we know more about how this war ended, Tyler, do you have any final big picture thoughts on this last battle?
I think this all fits together fairly well. Like, the leader of our movement made some sacrifice to lure their leadership here and may not have survived after the battle. we lost, this powerful figure and our homeland to the enemy, but we potentially gained a lot of new resources as well.
Perfect. All right. So I'm just pulling up a fantasy name generator. I mean, my imagination. Oh gosh. Exposed. So now that we know how the war ended and we sort of have an idea of like what kind of war was fought here, we are going to go into character creation. So one hot second. There we go. Cool. So this is how it will work. Bashir, don't worry about that card. You're gonna get 2 more. But everyone's gonna get 3 cards. And we will go around the circle, and I think it'll be best if we just go alphabetically. So Bashir, Eugene, Gabrielle, Tyler. And you will lay down 3 cards on roll 20 in the spread, and it will determine who you were, what changed you, and what do you desire most. I have open in my handy dandy little reference the rules, which I wrote. Suggested interpretations. So if you draw something and you're just like, I have no idea how to relate the 3 of Cups to like a wartime character, I have suggestions, and I will, as you consider your cards and you lay them down, I suggest that you lay them down and then you offer what it is that you think happened, just so that you can get like a big picture of how it all works together. I'll be able to tell you stuff like if you draw the first card, who you were, and it's a major arcana, you were likely a leader of some kind, perhaps a centurion, fleet commander, squad commander. Your level of leadership can rise and fall with a number of the major arcana, or you can make your own determination. Think about your responsibilities, what kind of leader you were, and who you led. So, yeah, the first card is who you were. This is who you were in the battle, in the fight, and in the ascendancy. Place this in front of you, vertically. The second card, which will be what changed you. Take a second. Oh, Bashir, sweetie.
Should have waited, or?
I love you so much. Put that back in your hand.
All right.
Okay. And then the second card is what changed you. You will take a second to reflect on what could have caused this shift in your character. This can occur at any time during childhood, during the war, before the war, at the end of the war. Maybe it's a shift that's happening right now. Place the card horizontally across the who you were card. And then the last card, what you desire most. This is what you desire most. Unlike what changed you, this card should refer to the future. It is a goal, a purpose, a destination, objective, ambition, or a vision of the future. It reminds you that you are alive and here. It should be placed directly underneath the 2 crossed cards. Does anyone have any questions before we get into this? Nope.
So I think that's reasonably straightforward.
Yep.
Whew, thank God. All right, next page.
All right. Here's all of us.
Now, choose any one of these. Anyone you want.
All right, I will go for the leftmost.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's see, and then just see if I can shrink this to fit, or...
Perfect. Can you?
All right. No, I cannot. I cannot scale the images.
I'll do it.
I got it.
All right. There we go.
So the 10 of Wands, for this, I have suggested, and like, feel free to like use, like read through your references I'm talking and then ignore me. That's fine too. For the minor arcana, I've said wands should be pilots, flyers, transporters, supply lines, informers, dispatchers, quick to act, trigger happy.
I really like pilot, so that's about my speed. So I think I'm going to go with that.
All right.
And so draw. So I should draw these one at a time. Going
Yeah, that's fine.
in.
Ooh.
King of Pentacles sideways, and you'll have to do the shrinking. But...
Yep, no problem.
So, a suggested interpretation for the major arcana is that what changed you changed more than just you. Maybe it changed your family, affected your squad, your faction, or your planet. The degree of change can be as large or as small as you'd like, but it should include a group of people, not just one or two.
All
sorry,
right.
I messed up. Bashir, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
For minor arcana, which this is as the King of Pentacles, face cards should represent a person or another person's actions that help cause the change.
All right. Let's see. Can I draw the third card before defining the specifics of this?
Totally, go for it.
All right. Let's see what we've got.
All right. So this third card, which is the Six of Cups, is what you desire most. And the suggested interpretation for the minor arcana is that you desire relationships, people, connection, love, friends, family, and the now.
Okay, so I am inclined to go with, let me just check out this guide for what's up with the pentacles. There we are. And that is the king. So, supporting. I think during the war, I pretty much got through it on the support of other people, one way or another. And with everything that was lost in the final gambit and the like, I'm pretty eager to build up a new set of I'm pretty eager to build up a new set of basic relationships with people who I am not currently trying not to get murdered alongside. And I think for whatever reason throughout this, I've slowly bled all the people I was kind of relying on, and I'm looking for a replacement for that.
Do you think that the thing that changed you, so the King of Pentacles, do you think that was when there was that Pyrrhic victory in the capital? Do you think that a lot of your friends were lost during that moment, and that's really what changed you? Like, you were pretty steady throughout the whole war, and then this victory happened at a very high cost, and that changed you.
Yeah, I think that fits. That fits pretty well. So this sacrifice was Pyrrhic in general, and also for me in specific, this was pretty devastating.
Yeah.
I think not a lot of pilots came out of that, I want to say. And so there's a lot of missing holes, as it were, in what remains of my social network.
Yeah, that's sad. That happens. All right, so I will let you think of a name for your character and pronouns when you get a chance. And next, I believe, is Eugene.
Yes.
If you would draw 3 cards.
Absolutely. So, here's card 1. I'll go at 12 o'clock. The Wheel of Fortune.
Ooh, wow. All right. So, if you drew a major arcana, which you did, the biggest, you were likely a leader of some kind, perhaps a centurion, fleet commander, squad commander. Your level of leadership can rise and fall with the number of major arcana, but it doesn't have to.
I think so. Yeah, it's the 10th card in the major arcana, so I'm not the world or something. But the Wheel of Fortune goes round and round. Let's see. I think I was a. I think I played a role like a judge or something to do with deciding people's. I mean, it's not the justice card, but I just feel like I decided people's fates somehow. Let me
Do you
think how that works.
think maybe you were like a tactician of some kind? Like you were the fleet tactician or some like navigator or something?
Yeah, I think I like that. Yeah. And let's say it's, flying interstellar space is risky, and because we have to fly at such great distances, you have to travel at such great speeds. There's always a bit of an art to it because you might encounter an unexpected asteroid at high speeds and whatnot. So I roll the dice every time I plot the course.
Yeah. I think that's really good. So do you think that people knew you had this position, or do you think you were kind of you were like a captain, but you weren't like someone people generally refer to? You were like the person that other people in leadership referred to.
Yeah, I think it was a behind the scenes role, and I think that everyone was super superstitious around me. Because, they don't want to jinx me because I'm the one who's going to throw the ship into a sun on accident, right?
Yeah. Do you think that when you had to plot the course and do all that, do you think that there was a level of like, was it very, very strictly like by the book, or did you like fly a little by the seat of your pants?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's, as you say, there's no rules here. So I'm going to say it's an intuitive thing, some sort of mystical connection, right? Maybe I take a little of the spice if you want to cite some Dune here or something, right? So I connect to the multiverse.
I love it.
I dream my navigational path or something.
I love it. I love it so much.
So I will draw card number 2. What changed me? Oh my. A nightmare. The 9 of Swords.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that the cost, maybe, of this navigation through wartime. It's one thing to plot the stars at peace, but to do it during war, incredibly quickly, when told through war zones, is just it caused me to have horrible, horrible nightmares. Because some of the time we wouldn't make it all the way. Some of the time the ship would become damaged by the course I've plotted. People died. We didn't get to where we needed to go, and other people died. And it was just the connections repeatedly. Now I'm suddenly thinking that I'm blanking on his name. He's such a great character. The engineer who's covered in spores in Star Trek Discovery. He pilots the ship through this quantum network or something by plugging it into him, and he uses his body as a conduit, but it takes this huge toll on him. Anyway, so I'm that guy, and that really messed him up. Maybe I'll just steal more from the show. I'm a little bit out of phase now. I'm physically changed as well as mentally challenged in that by these nightmares.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, the 9 of Swords is like the card of like nightmares and desperation and worry and terror. So I think you've nailed it. All right. So the last card, what you desire most. Wands. All right. A suggested interpretation for wands is you desire art, innovation, the pursuit of passion, bright-eyed dreamers, the future, dear future. What does this boy want? Or girl? Or non-binary alien? What do they want?
I think they want I think they want to be able to use their imagination and dream again without it hurting. So they want music and art, and they want to create something with that ability they have, rather than use it for war, hoping that will heal them. Maybe.
I think that's great, especially because the 4 of Wands is supposed to be about joyful celebration and freedom and possibility. So I think being able to dream without pain is a very could be anything, but it's also very specific to your character.
Awesome.
Hell yeah. All right. Gabrielle.
That's a tough act to follow.
I think you can handle it. I have faith in you.
Draw one card. How do I move my card?
You should just be able to drag it.
Yeah, like literally drag and drop it. You don't have to put it in your hand as well. You can just grab it off the top of the deck and just pull instead of using the draw button.
Well,
There you go.
that would be the Two of Wands.
So would you like to be on the right side or the bottom?
I'll be on the right side.
Cool. And then suggested interpretations for who you were with the Two of Wands, or with wands in general, are pilots, flyers, transport, supply lines, informers, dispatchers, quick to act, trigger happy.
I think dispatcher. Sending ships, troop movements, deciding which detachments go where. No pressure.
I think that's a great interpretation for Two of Wands, because Two of Wands is generally like a crossroads, a path.
It's like planning and discovery.
Yeah. That's great. I love that.
All right. So dragging does not work for me.
If you click at the top of the deck, maybe try that.
Oh, I see. Drag to deal. Gotcha.
Ooh, that's...
Oh,
Ten of Cups.
10 of Cups.
Okay. Cool.
That's a very happy looking card.
Yeah, so you obviously have your own little guide. So feel free to reference that. I'll just say some things out loud for the listeners on stream.
Totally, please.
Yeah, so this is what changed you. Take a second to reflect on what could have caused a shift in your character as a dispatcher. It can happen during childhood, during the war, before the war, at the end of the war. 10 of Cups is happiness, maturity, unity, and forgiveness. It signifies emotional growth, and like the successful cultivation of relationships. Yeah. Transgressions are forgiven, that sort of thing.
I think that I sent someone very close to me into a very dangerous assignment and thought I was going to lose them maybe. And they came back. And it gave me a lot of confidence in my skill and my ability to see the bigger picture and the unity of the movements of all the different pieces.
Yeah, I like that. I like that, like, your change is a change of confidence and like I can handle this, you know?
And I don't think that relationship in particular recovered from it maybe, but I think that I learned to separate feelings and compartmentalize, and that sort of personal growth.
Yeah, like you were able to forgive yourself for making that decision, but like your friend wasn't really able to forgive you.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
All right.
All right. And number 3, what do I want? Page of Swords.
All right. So,
well, that's a person.
Yeah, it's suggested, you know, if you get a face card, you can choose for this to mean another person who will come into or affect your life, or you can choose to see this as the person you will become in the future, the ideal you. Swords are, a suggested interpretation for swords is there's more left to do. Planning, exploring, looking up, understanding, you seek, you search, you find.
I think, just to bring this all full circle, this is the fighter that I sent out on the difficult assignment, and I've got that peace of mind and clarity, but I still want to reconcile.
Do you think that this is emblematic of like reconciliation elsewhere, or do you think that you're just like very, very focused on this one person?
I think that this was formative. You know, it changed me greatly, and you know, but you lived. What's the big deal? Kind of, but not that simple.
All right. Perfect. All right, so I will leave you to think of names and pronouns. And now we're on to Tyler.
Hey,
Hey.
should I just draw?
Yeah, draw a card, man.
What is that?
Eight.
Seven.
That is
No, 12.
Eight of Cups. Right?
Okay.
Eight.
He's walking away.
Thank you for doing all this moving around. For cups, the suggestion is those full of heart, the soldiers, the fighters, the cavalry, the troopers, the deadeyes, the folk legends, the heroes.
So, yeah, I probably would have been like, you know, a low-ranking soldier or something in there, and then, you know, probably very full of purpose.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, boots on the ground.
Just
All
like
right.
the guy in the picture.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, draw another card.
Oh, I did. It's this guy with the tree.
Oh, sorry. That's weird.
Is that 4 of Cups?
Oh, he's over here. Okay, my bad. Yes,
Oh, sorry.
it is. No, you're good.
Cool. So, yeah. For the 4 of Cups, again, everyone has their own little guide at home. 4 of Cups hide beneath leaves and branches of an overhanging tree. Withdrawn, passive, introspective, hidden, and you often can't see what's right in front of you. You may feel dissatisfied, stuck in a rut, experience creative block. It might also be purposeful solitary time. But,
So this is the event that changed me?
yes.
Sorry. What were you saying?
I'm just saying that, but Tyler can interpret it however he wants.
I mean, I'm guessing I was stationed somewhere fairly calm, and while I was eager to, you know, be productive to the efforts, you know, it was just long periods of waiting, guarding, for what felt like no reason to me, and it was never like, maybe we were like guarding, you know, the facility that created the weapon or something. So I never realized how important it was, but you know, they needed loyal troops or something to guard it. But over the course of the, you know, this long deployment, it began to change, you know, my views about the whole war in general, and like confidence in our leadership.
Yeah, I like that. All right, last card. What you desire most.
What's this one?
Oh.
That's so fun. Fun for you. So a suggested interpretation of what you desire most, if it's a major arcana, is you might want to be a force for good in the galaxy, in service to the people and the people, in service to the power and the people. You're not content with what you were, you want more. It's so weird how tarot just works this way. I love it. You're not content with who you were, you want more. You're ambitious, although where your aspirations may lie in the future can be interpreted as you like. This doesn't have to be a power of renown. If you want to serve the people of your city-state as a member of the Intergalactic Embassy, the idea of agency is the most important.
I think I don't think this ambition is being taken seriously at the moment, but like he could potentially want to start like the next movement. Like he sees this war as just like a stepping stone in the right direction, and he's waiting to take the next step, you know? So it's kind of ominous.
The second wave of the rebellion.
Say, yeah. One planet torched. A good start.
One down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Hangman is, like surrender, faith, sacrifice, and perspective. So there's definitely like elements of that and what you want, like the idea of like you might have to be the bad guy in order to like get the like the best outcome for the most people. Like you might have to be the villain.
Eventually. Yeah.
All right. Nicely done, everybody.
Yeah.
That's a great group of characters here that I think work really, really well together.
Yes.
So before we move on to bonds, Bashir, what is your character's name and pronouns?
I'm going with 8. He, him. He was a clone in the Empire who defected along with his entire batch, and one of the reasons he's currently looking to rebuild, to find new relationships and people to bond with, is that he is now the last clone in that batch after our victory.
All right, great. And Eugene, name and pronouns, please.
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna say that they them, because they let's say the name is Phalaris, and Phalaris is non-human. Phalaris is, I mean, okay, if no one minds me getting strange, Phalaris is a plasma cloud. A sentient plasma cloud that has telepathic abilities to communicate and tries to be polite, not reads anyone else's mind, and has been put to the task of pilot navigating these ships. But yeah, that's Phalaris.
Damn, all right.
Wow.
Gabrielle.
Keris, Keyrys, she, her.
Okay. And Tyler, I know that you haven't gotten a lot of time, but do you have a name and pronouns for your person?
Sure, I'll be like I'll mostly go by my rank or something, like Sergeant Davis or something, and he, him.
Sergeant. I love it. All right. So now we're going to create bonds with each other's characters. You see that how you are next to 2 other people. You will be able to, you will create your bonds. So basically what happens is we'll start with Bashir, and you will pick a card and you will lay it down on to the person on your left. So in this case, it would be Eugene. So you would draw a card and you would place it on the bond, and you would use that card to help describe your relationship to
The
Atlantis.
Empress. Okay. Let's see.
So the way this
what
works,
that's about.
Yes, do it. So the way this works is because no one should
Let's
have
see.
unilateral say over any relationship here. You will like say what you think and like you'll basically be making a suggestion, and then Eugene will accept it or he'll add on to it, and you guys will like develop a bond collaboratively.
All right.
Cheer. What do you
So,
Eight's relationship is to Phalaris?
so like Phalaris is a gas cloud, right? So like how do they interact with the world is, I guess, something I'm at. Like they can have telepathy to communicate with people, but
Yeah.
like do they need intermediaries to like actually fly the ship or input the commands that they order when they're doing a jump and stuff like that.
If it's narratively convenient for you, yes. Otherwise, I was just going to imagine it was, it had telekinetic energy powers, I hadn't gotten that far. But that's a good question.
I'm thinking like you're giving navigational orders and a lot of that stuff to the fleet.
Yes.
And I'm thinking that like let me just reference the Empress again. I'm thinking basically since travel between the stars is so dangerous, you became in a way the senses, the eyes and the ears and stuff for the fleet. And so even if you didn't necessarily know the other pilots, all of the other pilots, because there are a lot of people and they're all driving, everyone knows you and had some sort of relationship with how you communicated and the decisions you made and the like. And so the relationship is kind of that it's impersonal on your end, but on 8's end, you're pretty much the one constant throughout this war that he had, as everyone else kind of died around him as this progressed.
So I like that.
Does that sound like something you're interested in?
Yeah, let's say that. I mean, so I'm thinking about the Empress card, and I'm like, I'm thinking like that. For me, thinks about like physical nurturing and fertility and support. So maybe, like I'm playing this, this role of shepherding the crew and fleet to safety through these dark times and places. But so for those of you who are receiving the instructions and then programming the actual flight and actually doing the work, I'm the lifeline in a way. But for me, I just pass along data to hundreds of people, so that's an interesting like asymmetry in the relationship. That's cool. I like that idea. Like, right, yeah, you're sure, I know you, 8's, sure, yeah, hi.
Yeah, pretty much. And like on the other end, every pilot in the fleet has to trust you implicitly, because if they don't, they die, and if you're wrong, they might die.
And we made it.
Oh boy.
At some cost or other.
All right.
I like that.
Cool. Usually I would not, just a note for the listeners, usually I would not rush this. I would let people say whatever they wanted to say and like do whatever. But we want to make sure that we get to the game. So let's do the next bond. Eugene, you will create a bond with Gabrielle's character, with Karis.
All right, so me and Gabrielle with Karis have the sun in common. So I'm tempted to take this very literally. Normally, the sun is going to mean whatever, new life and that sort of thing. They got the naked child and all that. But how about, so if I recall correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, Gabrielle. Your character does the dispatcher in a way. So you kind of like you basically might name the destination, and then it was my task to program the navigation to get us there.
Basically.
I love it.
So tell me how you feel about this. Let's say one of the tasks, the destinations that you gave me, required us to fly very close to a star. And there were casualties. And so that was the worst trip I ever had to navigate, right? And you had to, it was necessary for winning the war, blah, blah, blah. So I know rationally that you were doing your job well, but it like bugs me. How do you feel about that?
That sounds very formative. It sounds like a thing we both might have nightmares about. Yeah.
Right. So I'm okay with that if you are.
Yeah. So we have that level of implicit trust, but it's not without cost.
I think that's perfect. Yeah. Fantastic.
Lovely. All right. Well, now it's your turn. You're going to draw a card for Tyler. For Tyler's character, the sergeant.
The sergeant. Let's see.
Damn.
Okay.
I love a tarot. Two of Swords for listeners. Locked off, refusal, avoidance, getting stuck, opposing forces, stalemate, a refusal of the truth. Have at it, y'all.
Damn. So, I guess in a big picture way, I assigned the sergeant to where he is. And that assignment's given him lots of time to think about this war and war, what is it for? And he isn't necessarily on the same page with the rest of us. And that's kind of my fault.
Yeah.
I should have given you more to do. Sorry.
Probably.
What do you think?
That sounds about right. I'm trying to think if there could be another aspect to it, but it does seem pretty straightforward. I mean, my character's ideology would kind of be on a different page than everybody else's. Yeah. So I like kind of the confrontational aspect of it.
Yeah. So on my guide, Two of Swords says difficult choices, indecision, stalemate. So if that's a bond, then it's definitely a bond, at heads. I like that.
That's cool.
We love a good tarot.
A little conflict in
Perfect.
there.
All right. So what is the sergeant's relationship to eights? Please draw a card.
All right. 4 pentacles.
What is that? The
Or coins.
Four of Pentacles.
Okay.
Four of Pentacles indicates hoarding, greed, materialism, and stagnation. It warns of hoarding, whether material wealth, ideas, or even emotions. These riches were meant to be used, brought into the world where they may flourish and benefit all. But they're trapped.
Huh.
And this doesn't just like define a conflict between us. This defines like just a relationship, kind of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I mean, smuggling seems to work well here. If we had some sort of smuggling relationship.
That could work. I'm thinking, like, in the sense of, like, hoarding material resources, is a clone soldier a material resource?
Maybe. Yeah, because, I mean, my character would have the desire to accumulate resources for use, in another conflict, potentially. So I could be trying to, like, acquire knowledge about the clones. Maybe your body is, like, a wealth of knowledge because you're the last clone or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be, like, trying to kidnap you and cut you into pieces or something.
It could be like recruitment, or just like you think it could be recruitment, it could be using a useful resource, it could be trying to figure out how the Empire did their cloning program so you could do your own. It could be a lot of things on the lines of, like, the fundamental idea behind cloning a bunch of soldiers is that you have turned people into a resource to spend and create at will.
Interesting. And I'm attempting to, like, gain knowledge or power over that resource. Okay, but not necessarily you. But
it could also be, like, if you want to go in a, like, slightly less overtly villainous direction, that the use of clones is one of the things that he objected to or, like, disagreed with, and what he views as the next stage is, like, hoarding cloned lives as jealously as you would, like, a non-cloned life. So, but yeah, it's your call. I'm just spitballing.
I kind of like that idea. Like, just the aspect of you being a clone is, you know, an ideological motivator. Um, like, you know, they're just like the aspect of clones as a resource or not a resource, and how that places value on them. But yeah, I think there's some kind of, like, you know, treasure of knowledge within you, or I believe there's like a treasure of knowledge within you that could potentially be to my benefit. But like, I'm not necessarily willing to piss you off or something.
All right, that sounds good.
Perfect. All right. So now that we sort of have these bonds together, we are going to do the first spread. And I will. So this character slide will remain intact. All of these cards are essentially out of play because they've been used in your spread. So I'm just going to move us to the next slide, which is the celebration. So this is going to introduce us to how the game will work. We will be using predetermined spreads to tell the story of this war and of these characters in this war and how they lived and possibly died. So the way this works, the spread will be 2 rows of cards, as you can see. We will start in the middle with what lives are you celebrating, who rises, and then also underneath it, who do you mourn who has fallen. We will start because Tyler's character, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler's character is the lowest ranking character in the war.
Well, yeah.
So you get to go first again.
No.
I know, look at you.
So I draw for 1. Oh, just tell me when. Yeah.
Yep.
Let me put it there. Yes. So you will draw each card individually, and you're actually going to be the one like drawing all of these cards. And
No.
It's kind of ironic because you are not only are you the character that was the lowest ranking within the war, you're also the character that has like the brightest vision for the future. So it's really interesting that you get to do this because it allows you to sort of, as the lowest ranking character in the game, you would traditionally expect not to have a lot of say in how the war happened. But because you get to define a lot of what happens during the celebration, you're actually put in a lot of control despite maybe not having that narrative control later in the game.
I also like the fact that my impression was that Sergeant Davis had a more negative view of the war than the rest of us, probably. And so to be the one kind of who gets the narrative control of how the celebration looks is kind of interesting too. So, you know, it might come out looking a little more gray area than it might if one of the others had done it. Yeah.
So the way this will work is you will draw the first 2 cards and you will place them down and you will explain the cards like classic meaning, like what they could mean. And you will sit back and the other people around you will actually offer the interpretation of the cards and how they relate to the first 2 questions, which are what lives are you celebrating, who rises, and who do you mourn, who has fallen. And then after everyone's given you their interpretations, you actually say like, well, let me tell you what actually happens. So congrats, Sergeant Davis. You are actually in control of everything.
Oh, no. All right, well, another revolution's coming. All right, so I'm ready to draw?
Yeah. So for this, because I am the facilitator, how about you draw those 2 cards and I'll read out the meaning so you don't have to worry about looking it up.
Cool.
And then you can do those interpretations however you want.
Okay.
All right. So 3 of Cups.
Oh, and 3 of Pentacles.
All right, so 3 of Cups indicates celebration, friendship, support, and connection, which is very appropriate for the lives that you celebrate. And then 3 of Pentacles also indicates teamwork, synergy, dedication, and growth. It is an invitation to use each other's strengths to create a team more effective than any one person alone. So now that you know what those 2 things are, which is support, celebration, friendship, connection, and then teamwork, dedication, and growth for celebration and mourning. Does anyone in particular have any ideas about what this means in relationship to the celebration that you guys are having? And does anyone think that their characters relate particularly strongly to either of those 2 cards?
I think that 8 is at the start of the celebration pretty distant from the ascendants, just because it's something that he doesn't have a huge it's something where the lives he would be celebrating are ones he's lost, and he hasn't yet replaced them when the celebration starts.
Cool. So you think that he's definitely like in the mourning phase, like relating to 3 of Pentacles. He's like, I was stronger as a team. What am I going to do now? How do I move on? Yeah,
definitely.
Cool.
He's very much mourning the loss of the team, and like the relatively straightforward, objective-focused planning that was his entire life up until this point, when this celebration starts and it kind of sinks in, oh, that's over, and there is no one.
Yeah, I think that's a very good call. I also think that like these 2 cards work very well together as both like 3s of different suits. It sort of explains that like for maybe your character, maybe for all the characters, that the celebration in the morning is very, very
intertwined.
Yeah, it's like people understand why it had to happen. People see it. You know, they really see it. If no one else has anything to add about their characters, Tyler, you can go for it, Gabrielle.
Sorry, I'm busy looking things up. So I think my character has a very different perspective on all of this from the control deck. I think she's celebrating with the other administrators because the loss isn't necessarily on as personal a level for the people behind the scenes doing the directing. Maybe she hasn't quite connected with how other people are mourning yet. And I think the loss that she's seeing is the literal physical loss, the loss of buildings and infrastructure and places.
All right.
With the cups being more emotional and pentacles being more physical. So she's celebrating the emotions and mourning the buildings. Kind of.
I love that. That's great. Awesome. All right. So I think that's good. Tyler, do you have any final comments on what this means for the ascendancy?
Yeah, I mean, I think all those things are true. We're mourning the loss of like lots of people that we worked with, and we're attempting to celebrate, a return to a time without war. But also for many people, like, many people remember a time before the Empire when, they were able to live in relative freedom. But a lot of people remember that as a unifying time. So for some people, there is a sense that something great has been broken apart and needs to be rebuilt somehow.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Please draw the next two cards. The top card is, who do you seek in joy? What hope do you find? And the bottom card is, who do you confront in anger? What simmers underneath your skin? So you drew the Queen of Cups for joy and hope. So the Queen of Cups is intuitive and understanding, nurturing and tender. She has a particularly acute understanding of other people's emotions. And then the Two of Pentacles. Two of Pentacles is indecisiveness, juggling, and finances. It represents the ability to balance and shift attentions quickly and effectively, particularly with finances. But while it may be fun, it cannot be kept up forever. It can also be a card of insecurity. So, does anyone have any immediate connections to the Queen of Cups as in like hope and joy, or the Two of Pentacles as anger and resentment for their characters, or for the ascendancy at large?
I'd like to jump in for the Queen of Cups. So I don't want to. So the question is like, what do you seek in joy? What hope do you find?
Yes.
I want to put this as kind of forward-looking and say that Phalaris is whatever. I've described Phalaris as a sentient plasma cloud that has telepathic ability. But let's throw in empathic too.
You did that.
Yeah, I did that. So let's say that Phalaris is kind of aware of the kind of emotional states of all the beings around them, so that they are... One of the difficult things about the war was all the fear and pain that they were constantly being flooded with, right? And so now this is a time when that real active psychic pain is being eased up. They're finding opportunities not just to feel their own joy, but to feel it in others. And so that's something that they are trying to celebrate.
Cool. All right. Does anyone want to...
I think in terms of something that to take the what simmers beneath your skin prompt and kind of apply it to the ascendancy as a whole, I think for a long time, basically the entire war, the ascendancy has kind of been juggling and balancing everything they needed to do to make this moment happen, with all the disagreements and the fact that, like, I'm sure a lot of people in the ascendancy didn't like each other or had vastly different ideas as to what the new, better galaxy we were fighting for was going to look like. It was just that we had, the Dark Flame right there in charge of everything, and that had to be dealt with first. And now that it's done, and now that we actually have the time to like celebrate and say we won, it's under the skin and it hasn't erupted yet, but it's pretty clear to people who are high up or in command that there are a lot of bills due, as it were. There are a lot of things that were put off for as long as we could put them off, that now we have to actually face and deal with. And that's just kind of underneath everything going on at the celebration.
Yeah, that idea that like we've been unfocused for a very long time, and now Taxman's come due.
I like that, and I think my character probably really feels that, because there's the yay, we won, we can start building something new. Maybe I can reconnect with my estranged daughter and say, look, it's time to start something new. I'm sorry I sent you out into that, really dangerous mission where you had to fly too close to a star. But, we all do what we have to do. But at the same time, there's a lot of work to be done. And the idea that this is only the beginning and that there's a lot, like the sergeant says, there's a lot of, there's a lot more work. There's a lot of, this isn't over. This isn't the end. We're tired and we just want to be finished, and we're resentful that this is only the first war of many that we've made for ourselves by winning this one.
In terms of celebration, one of the ideas I like with the like intuitive or like spiritual aspects of the Queen of Cups is that like the Dark Flame and the Empire wasn't just physical, but that there was something spiritual or metaphysical or like psychic that they had been maintaining that was deeply unpleasant for the people of the galaxy. And now that it's gone, people are celebrating that like things are clearer and there's a tangible emotional uplifting that's come just because we've gotten rid of whatever this horrible thing was.
I really like that idea, the sort of idea that like the oppressors in this case had such a mental, emotional toll on the whole galaxy. Like there was a hold on it. And again, I think that plays very well to the way that we've already described Phalaris, like being very intuitive and mystical in their own right. Just sort of the idea that like war, like obviously like we're talking about this game and it's a game, but we're also talking about like war as a metaphor. Because that's what games do. They talk about things with by interacting and playing with it. And we're sort of talking about like the emotional toll that living in war takes, and the fact that like this while that's like a very psychological part of war, in this case, in like our world and our war, it's very real. It's very much like a mythic, like no, like the oppressors in this case like had a hold on you. Like it had an emotional hold on your heart, and you as a soldier had to fight through that every single day. That's really cool. All right, hell yeah. Next two, please. Unless Tyler, you have any other additions?
Well, I was just gonna kind of elaborate on what other people said. I like the idea that the hope and joy comes from like.
Oh no! Tyler cut out.
Oh no!
Oh no!
We've lost Tyler.
You're back.
Oh, okay, there we are.
A momentary lapse of reason. It's all right.
Yeah, you said hope and joy, and then you got cut out.
Oh, there was some aspect to, of community technology that we had to develop and grow in order to fight like whatever magical effect of the Dark Flame was there. So there's hope in using this kind of like social technology into the future. And then things that people are angry about and resent are, just like the ongoing political divisions that almost caused us to fail, probably. And then, the favors that are owed that are being called in.
Cool. Love it. All right.
All right, 5 and 6.
Yes. So 5.
Oh.
Cool. All right. So 5 is what lessons do you carry? What ideals stand firm? And 6 is what trauma do you hold? What obstacles hold you back? And you didn't choose it, but you got the Knight of Pentacles for lessons and ideals. The Knight is prepared, steadfast, dedicated, and careful. They pour over logistics and theory. They are protected. You could be stubborn, straightforward and realistic, uninspired but effective. There is much to be gained from steadfast and dedicated obsession with one's work. Be sure that you are not left behind as others dash off to their calling. So that's lessons and ideals. And then, is that the 3 of
3?
Wands?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So, 3 of Wands is exploring and leading, travel and adventure. This is part of your trauma and obstacles. Where the 2 of Wands represent conflict between 2 choices, the 3 of Wands is already dead set on embarking on a new adventure. It's a card of leadership, finding new horizons, forging the way, well-planned strategy, optimism, and excitement that comes with success.
And that's in our way.
That is what trauma you hold, what obstacles hold you back. So, or I mean, whatever interpretation you guys have, because I just have one book and it's tarot, so do whatever you want.
So,
yeah. So, does anyone have? Yes, Bashir.
So it's a bit of, I guess, a weird sorry?
Yeah, go ahead. You're good.
Okay. It's, I think, a bit of a weird interpretation of the 3 of Wands, but I think it might be that, like, whoever was truly in charge of the ascendancy is gone, and so now, and there's a general feeling of, like, we should consolidate what we have instead of actually launching out on this thing that was planned. So, like, so we have all these worlds that have opened up and as possibilities, not, even though we've lost our home, but things that went badly enough that people are hesitant to execute on that and are kind of leaning towards or want to stay on worlds like Huo-Ra, where we're currently having the celebration, and that, like, we're already settled at one point and have a bunch of stuff already, and there's a general unwillingness to go for another big leap, considering what the last one cost us.
Yeah, I think
I love this.
So we're traumatized by the 3 of Wands, rather than the 3 of Wands being the nature of it.
Exactly. Growth is our obstacle. Because, okay, yay, we've won, but what now? Well, we didn't think we'd get this far, so we don't really have a plan, and the people who made the plan are gone, and you know, oh crap.
Well, and how about I'm fine if this one gets shot down, but so I'm thinking, like, what did we have to go through to win this war? Maybe we had to fundamentally transform our society. We had to fundamentally transform who and what we are, like our basic, like our, well, Phalaris isn't human, but human nature, right? So it's like I can totally imagine, like, perhaps, because, you know, Tyler mentioned, like, we remember being, was it Tyler? I don't know. Remember before the war, and we have these ideals that we felt like we lost or something.
Yeah.
So, like, I could imagine, like, maybe before the war, what became the ascendancy was pacifist. It was sustainability, where it was a fundamental principle. But in order to fight the Dark Flame, we had to kick into this, like, we had to start strip mining planets. We had to start enforcing, like, training our children to kill, right? And so now we're living in the aftermath of having to turn our whole society into a total war machine, right? And so, like, the 3 of Wands to me is, like, about setting out on a conquest. It's like you're looking for, like, you're surveying your domain. You know what I mean? You're about to set forth. And so maybe we went out and we turned a decentralized, peaceful society into an intergalactic empire. And now we've got an intergalactic empire.
I think I like the core idea of where you're going. I'm thinking, like, maybe instead of, like, empire, it's definitely a lot more militarized of a society. But I'm thinking something like, so to go on, like, the Knight of Pentacles, it's one where everything was incredibly and intricately mapped out, and actually taking a move was something that happened with an enormous amount of planning and with an enormous amount of, like, hesitation, because if you mess up, it could be your last. And so, like, for, say, our final victory at the planet, say, that involved an enormous amount of planning. It was this giant risk. We had to evacuate some ridiculous number of people. That's why we're on this abandoned planet so far out. This is kind of where we just stuck everyone, because the spreadsheet said that's where we could fit.
The spreadsheet. I love it. Oh no, we won through bureaucracy and it's now our curse.
And so, like, it's kind of, the strength is that things are pretty well organized, and the weakness is, yeah, what you've mentioned. And so there's this unwillingness to act on this bright new galaxy to fix without that same amount of planning that's now kind of working against us. But simultaneously, our strength and the ideal is that we can pull this off. We can pull ridiculous things off if we plan for it and we know what we're doing.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna, cite one of my favorite little internet memes here. Oh wait, are we the baddies?
Oh no!
Did we win by like adopting a centralized planned economy and like dictating everyone's lives and crushing creativity, and we now conquered the galaxy, or rather won the war, let's say, but now we have this problem where no one can be, we don't have freedom, we don't have this ability to nurture. We don't have to be the bad guys. I just was like that. I could imagine it going in that direction.
I really like the idea that you guys had to do it for the war, and now that you're like making moves to undo it, you're realizing that people just like can't live like that anymore. People can't go back to the way it was.
Yeah, I like that idea where like it's something that we knew we'd have to undo, but now that we have to undo it, it's causing a lot of problems.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right.
That's kind of the process. Yeah.
All right. So that's that. So that's the celebration spread. You guys did it. You guys know what you're about. You guys know what the celebration is happening. I think we are close to like halfway through. Congratulations. It's a very long, introspective, weird game. Thank you. Let's take a quick 10-minute break. I will, behind the scenes, just so anyone listening can know, I'll do a quick check-in with everyone, make sure everyone's doing okay. And then we will, when we return, the 4 players, Eights, Thalaris, Karis, and the Sergeant, will start playing the game.
All right, see you shortly. Hello, I'm Eugene Marshall, and this is Sigil Spotlight. We are a diverse community of tabletop role-playing game creators, supporting each other and playing each other's work. Tonight, we are playing Linda Codega's Stardrawn, a tarot-based story game about the aftermath of interstellar war. And we're about halfway through the game. We have created our characters. We use the tarot spreads to and the prompts written in their game to build the world and play out what happened through a post-war celebration. And now we're about to begin the next stage, the kind of game proper. Lynn, is there anything you'd like to say at this point?
Nope, that's great.
Fantastic. Well, let's get to it.
Yay! All right. So we are on a page that I've created that has all of the spreads we will use, or we could use. To determine what spread we will use, we will draw a new card, and we will go from there. So the people who were here earlier will notice that we have the King of Wands out, which was the card that we drew when we asked each other, how did the war end? So now this card is no longer the Galaxy card as it was when we first drew it. It is now the past, because I write lyric games and everything's got to have a fancy name. So now that we have used it, it's the past. And we are actually going to ask Bashir to draw the first Galaxy card.
All right.
And if you draw it, you can just place it directly on. Cool. Oh boy. All right.
Ace of Pentacles.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry. No. Yep. Or next to it.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So we have the King of Wands over the Ace of Pentacles. These are both minor arcana cards. So, and for the purpose of this game, the Ace counts as the card that's number 1, and the King is 13. So the Galaxy card is less than the past. So we are going to use this spread in the center, top center.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
So I'm going to send the past card. I'm just going to delete it, so it'll be in the discard pile. So Bashir, if you would like to draw 2 more cards for your spread and lay them out approximately like this, Eugene and I will take care of it.
Yep.
All right.
All right. So Ace of Pentacles.
Mm-hmm.
11? No.
9 of Cups.
9? Oh, 9 of Cups. There we go. And the Hermit.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. So I'm going to explain what this setting is going to be for this, and then you will take the wheel. And I will, of course, be in the background reading out random tarot interpretations, but again, it is all up to you. So if the Galaxy card is lower than the past, you go to the past, during the war, or even further back, before you began your time with the Ascendancy. You will draw 2 additional cards, which you have, and arrange them. So the Galaxy card, the Ace of Pentacles, this will be just when you describe an event in the past where you knew you were doing something right. And then the second card, which is the 9 of Cups, is who or what guided you through the war? Did you have an ideal, an understanding, a goal? Why did you fight? And then the last card is what did you learn during the war? What lessons did you take away?
The Hermit is such a depressing one, 4 9s, considering it's solitude and searching, and he's a dude whose entire thing is about how he relates to other people. So I'm thinking, Ace of Pentacles is material force and the like.
Mm-hmm.
9 of Cups is... Oh, that's the major arcana. There we go. 9 of Cups is wish fulfillment, satisfaction, and enjoyment.
This also, I would also like to add that it indicates abundance and satisfaction, as well as the reaping of rewards and prosperity in social endeavors as a guide.
I think this is when Eights and his clone batch defected to the Ascendancy. When they were deployed as part of a Empire fleet to crush an Ascendancy, I think a refugee column, pretty sometime after the midpoint in the war. And they deploy, and his flight leader, the leader of his clone batch, radios everyone in the group and says, we're not doing this, and paints their own side, the Imperial forces, as hostiles.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the moment when, without real prompting, they all kind of simultaneously decide to flip.
Perfect. Yeah. And do you think that the 9 of Pentacles or the 9 of Cups in this situation, what guided you through the war? Do you think it was your other clone siblings? It was your...
Yeah, I think it was the clone siblings and the clone family, and the idea that as long as we're working together and consulting each other, even if consulting each other is like consulting yourself several hundred times, we're going to do the right thing, because in a situation where we had not known anything other than what we did the right thing on instinct when the time came.
Cool.
And then, everyone else is dead, and he no longer has that option.
Yeah.
And the lesson is that no matter how much, like, you have to be the person that just you are, which is a pretty crappy lesson to learn for him in specific.
Also, if you want, like, my definition, and I'm saying definition, I'm this definition, also indicates like a mentorship. So maybe that's
okay.
That might be more aligned with what you have going on.
Yeah, I think some sort of mentorship as like, let's see, what you learned in the war, what lessons did you take away? I'm wondering if it's him mentoring other people or him being mentored. But I think, yeah, he picked,
You can be whatever you want.
Yeah. I'm almost tempted to, yeah, I think that as part of being in the ascendancy, even as like the clone batch started to wither, he began to pick up other people to mentor him, and like, so there's this thing called not being at war. What's that supposed to be like? And other just like, how do you function outside of this very specific circumstance that is literally all he has ever existed in?
Cool. All right, I like that. Does anyone, so now that you have like described this, the other three people in the ascendancy are allowed to offer their own interpretations, which you may then agree with or reject. Does anyone else have any like ideas or thoughts for Eights and Bashir about this event that happened in the past and how it affected him now?
I have a question. So the mentorship, here's something that I just observed, and do with it what you like. The role of mentorship is a kind of vertical relation in a lot of ways, right? So you're a mentor, mentoring down, if you know what I mean, to a junior person, or upward to a more senior person, whereas the relationship of sibling is more of a peer relation and like fellow soldier. So it's interesting that like you came out of the war having lost all of these peers, and now, but you're not pursuing new peer relationships necessarily in this spread. You're like looking for parents and children, or mentor mentees, or you know what I mean? It's a different form of relationship.
That's really neat. Yeah.
Look
I guess
at you, your character.
I guess are there any other things people would like to suggest?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think this also could inform, how your kind of one-sided motherly relationship with Valaris interacts too. Like maybe they mentored you in how to be self-sufficient, so he like mentored you in the way of the hermit or something.
Tyler coming through.
Yeah, that's key.
Yeah, I really like that. I'm kind of so I've got an idea for I think how I want to revise that. Is there anything else people want to add?
I just want to say that you said this sentence that I wrote down, and I kind of want to frame it on my wall. It was beautiful. You said that the lesson you learned was you have to be the person that just you are. And oh man, that's a lesson. That's awesome.
Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So revising that, I think, so the first mentorship is this kind of impersonal one where he's looking up and kind of taking lessons from the voice over the radio that he doesn't really meet, but that's kind of his mentorship in how to be a person on his own. And after the war, the lesson he took away is that he needs to pass that on. And so the relationship he's looking to build now is to be the mentor for someone else as the galaxy tries to blaze a new path.
Love it. Perfect. All right. So that's it. That's the end of your turn. So now I'll move things around. This Ace of Wands will become the past, right? It's representative of things that have happened in the game. So next up, Eugene, if you will draw a new galaxy card, please.
Ooh, 5 of Wands.
So your galaxy card is higher than the past. So you're going to be doing this spread,
All right.
the far left. And I'll send this one to the shadow realm. No, just to the void.
So, all right. So this is the fate card, and then obstacle, and then solution. All right. So then I will draw the second and third cards, and then I will try and tell a story. Russ?
Yeah. And I'll go through what this spread indicates. So since your galaxy card is higher than the past, you move to the future after the war has ended, after the celebration among the stars. You will draw 2 additional cards, etc., etc. The galaxy card, this is your fate card. Are you where you want to be in the wake of the war? Have you risen or fallen? How does this card play with your desire card? Do they collaborate or contrast? And then the second card, in this case the magician, is what obstacle is in your way? Who or what has prevented you from achieving your desires? What is this obstacle ahead of you? How do you face it now? And then the last card, which is your solution, is this is the key to overcoming your obstacles. How do you do it? What happens? What does this mean for your future? And do you need to ask for help?
Okay. So when I looked at these 3 cards, the 5 of Wands or rods, the magician, and death. And so the magician is the obstacle, and death is the solution. So, no, death doesn't mean literally necessarily death, right? It can mean the end of a phase of your life, right? A transformation. Magician, for me, conjures the concept of skill and ability. 5 of Wands is conflict, right? As you can see in the picture there, right? So I'm thinking that, so the question is, am I where I want to be in the wake of the war? Have I risen or fallen? How does this card play with my desire card? Do they collaborate or contrast? So my desire card was for kind of renewal, and I don't remember exactly what the card was, but I remember the concept was that I wanted to be able to dream again painlessly, and like imagine and kind of disconnect from the recover from the trauma of war, right? So I'm thinking I haven't successfully done that yet, right? At the first card, right? 4 of Wands. Yeah, okay, that's right. So it was supposed to be a celebration, right? A happy coming together. And here I am, the next card. 4 of Wands to 5 of Wands. I haven't progressed very far, have I? It's literally the next card in the deck. So I feel like I'm stuck. Every night I settle into my stasis pod, because I'm a plasma cloud. I don't know. I don't have a bed, right? And I settle into my stasis pod and I calculate navigational routes. I do it in my sleep. I do it when I wake. I'm having trouble stopping, right? It's like I lived it for so many years, and I felt like it was so important. All those lives depended on me and my decisions, that on my skill, the very skill that got us through this war and maybe saved millions of lives, is the thing that is preventing me from moving on, right? I enter a room and I'm immediately calculating the affordances. Like, this is the exact route which will get me to my glass of plasma as quickly, as more efficiently as possible. I'm that person that like sends like letters to the editor telling newspapers how better to plan their routes to deliver their papers, because I just can't get it out of my head.
Oh no, baby.
So I need to let go. I need to transform. I think that, what would that look like? The key to overcoming my obstacles is going to have to be allowing that person to die. Not me, but that me, right? It's about acceptance, I think. Acceptance that I can't control I can't control everything, because that was the role I was in, and I took too much responsibility on myself. Plotting the routes that the troops will take means that if I mistake, they die.
Yeah.
And that's, it's not there. I'm not responsible for them anymore. I can let go of that. And
Yeah.
I'll probably need help doing that, because I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, so I really like this idea. I think that at this point in the future, like past the celebration, is not very far past the celebration. Maybe a year or two, maybe 5 years, and you sort of realize, Phalaris realizes that they haven't done what they wanted to do. They haven't even gotten close to it. They are not happy and celebrating. They're not letting them explore and have their own expression. They're just like they're still having nightmares. So I really like this journey for your character. And I like the idea that you sort of wake up in the middle of the night and you realize, like, I have to change. I have to change everything about me if I want to survive in this new world. Does anyone else have any revisions or thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of do. I mean, I kind of like the idea that, like, you might have had, like, a personal conflict with the Dark Flame or something, so that, the end of that rivalry causes you a different kind of problem, So maybe, like, the Dark Flame was always there causing these nightmares or something, and now that it's gone, you're looking for something else to fight, or, you find yourself kind of stuck in that cycle, I guess, in several different ways.
Yeah, I mean, it might be that that's what led me to become the navigator that to enlist or whatever. Maybe my people, the Plasma Cloud people, were, I don't know, victimized by the Dark Flame or something, so I have some sort of personal anger about it. But, and maybe in that situation, indeed, I couldn't protect the people I wanted to protect, so I took it on myself that I had to going forward. But now those threats are gone. I don't need to do that anymore. That makes sense. I'm down with that.
So
yeah, I mean, I was also kind of thinking about, like, maybe you were the only being powerful enough in the Ascendancy to really recognize what we were fighting too, or something. So you might have, like, a personal rivalry.
I mean, maybe the Dark Flame are my people, right? I mean, plasma is a kind of, the sun is made of plasma, so I'm a Dark Flame.
Oh no.
That's pretty great. Yeah, that's pretty great, actually. I really like that. I was kind of thinking that, like, for the magician and, like, the nature of the dreams and the calculations you're doing is reviewing the jumps that you made some mistake on, or where we lost people, and trying to figure out how you could have done that better or what the mistake was.
Right. I got to make that jump past the sun that, Kara sent me on better, so that we don't burn up half of the fleet on the jump,
Yeah, and, like, that part of the moving past it is just, like, accepting that those were the mistakes that were made, and that's it's all right for those to be the mistakes that were made. You don't need to figure out how you could have made it better. That isn't actually helping you.
Right.
Perfect. All right. Eugene, do you have anything final that you want to add about this immediate future?
I don't know who's going to help me figure this out. Let me know if you figure it out for me.
Someone knows. Someone out there knows. All right, next is Gabrielle. Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry. I keep mispronouncing your name. Gabrielle, I know how to say your name. I swear.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm just a jerk.
Okay.
Cool.
So we've got a 4 of Swords.
Cool. So, 4 of Swords. Your card, your Galaxy card, is lower than the past. Ooh, this is going to be good for you. Curious. No, it's good. So, your galaxy card is lower than the past. You go to the past during the war, or even further back before you began your time with the Ascendancy. Draw 2 additional cards. And then you will lay them out like this.
Okay.
That's the triangle one, yeah.
Yep.
So,
okay.
in this case, your galaxy card will describe your flashpoint, which is an event where you knew what you were doing was right. And then the second card will be your guide, who or what guided you through the war or this moment. Did you have an ideal, an understanding, a goal? Why did you fight during this point in time? And then what did you learn because of this?
Okay. So, number 2.
Ooh.
Oh boy.
What do we got?
Hierophant.
Ooh. Oh no. My emotions. I'm just taking furious notes, and I'm like, my heart, my little heart.
And the Fool.
Oh,
my
wow.
heart. My heart.
Like great cards. All right.
Well, we're not screwing around here. Okay.
So, for the listeners at home, 4 of Swords is rest, rejuvenation, preparation, and healing. It's a significant departure from the often noted ill omens of the sword suit, and calls us to take solace in the present. Be at peace and detach yourselves from current stresses, etc., etc. The Hierophant, again, for the listeners at home, everyone else has their own interpretations. I'm just reading from one little book. Oh gosh, where are we? It's 13, right? It's the Hierophant?
5.
5. What's
The Hierophant
13?
5, yeah, it's after the Emperor and Empress, I think.
Gotcha. Yeah, cool. So the Hierophant is belief, cooperation, community, and tradition. Blind obedience, iron-fisted hierarchies are common negative traits to associate with this card. It's important to note that groups and shared beliefs are neutral in nature. They can be used to band a group together for good or evil. I almost pronounced it evil, so well done me. But it asks us to join the fold, to believe how he believes, to study how he studies, and to band together to achieve a common goal. And the Fool, beginning, inexperience, spontaneity, and openness. It's the beginning of a journey and a reminder that the start of any new undertaking is intimidating and exciting. It serves as a reminder to trust our instincts.
So, okay, this seems pretty cohesive to me. Let's just dive in and see how this goes. I think this is a point well before the beginning of the war. This is how Karis ended up joining the military in the first place. And I think that she was a victim or a witness of some sort of attack and as a child. And the flashpoint, 4 of Swords, rest, rejuvenation, healing. She spent a lot of time in bed rest, having been an innocent bystander to war without understanding it. The guide, probably her parents, telling her, don't stray from the path, keep with tradition, stay home, have a family, do those sorts of things. And the Fool doesn't understand danger and is exuberantly excited about new beginnings. So she's like, okay, I've done what you want, now I'm going to go off and fight.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's how she has the kid that she sends to the sun.
There it is, the sun on the Fool card, waiting for you.
Stop. I hate the tarot.
What was that? I loved the tarot a few minutes ago.
I know. Oh. All right. I love it. Does anyone have any thoughts or additions or revisions they would like to offer?
I like the idea that your parents were, by representing the Hierophant, their like tradition, as you say, and that tradition was somehow at odds with going to war. I think that feeds into the like narrative we were telling before, how we had to kind of like change ourselves in order to fight the war, and now we're wondering if we can get those values back or something, right?
Yeah, very much.
It feels annoyingly like that thing when you're young and your grandparents or something tell you some like saying that you just dismiss, and then when you get older you're like, oh dang, they were right.
Oh fuck. I might have known what they were talking about, maybe.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I really like that. I think that's really a beautiful way to look at your character as like someone who's very optimistic and knows that maybe they should look a little bit closer at what they're doing, but is also very much just like wholehearted in their desire to like move forward and like explore and like be that person.
This also kind of plays into like that our interpretation of like the traditional society was pacifist or something.
Yeah.
Because then, yeah.
That's perfect.
Cool. All right. I think unless Gabrielle, unless you have another thought. Oh no, Bashir. Well, unless you have another thought, Gabrielle, your turn is over. You have one last chance to make a change.
No, I think that's all good. I think those are really good insights. This is awesome.
Perfect. All right. Fixed. Okay, good. Next person. All right, so we got pretty lucky. These, since we have been drawing galaxy cards that are all minor arcana, it's been relatively simple spreads, which is great. I think it's still working out really well, and I really like the feel of it. So next is Tyler. If you can draw one card, please. All right. Ooh, as soon as I said it's simple.
Yep.
So the galaxy is
Major over minor. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
All right, so
Here we go.
this one.
All right. Yes. Correct. All right. So I'm going to read this out. If the galaxy card is a major over minor, you will describe a turning point during the war that involved your character and at least one other player character. You can also include additional characters or NPCs, but at least one player character should be directly included. The goal of this spread is to collaborate and collude, creating a scenario together that affects the entire world you have developed together. The idea is to build on ideas, creating yes and scenarios that build on each other. This scenario can describe a turning point for either the ascendancy or the empire. I'd recommend using the galaxy card, Temperance, to determine the tone of this card, positive or negative, happy or sad, joyous or mournful. After the spread is drawn by the Oculus, the other player who is involved in this turning point may also draw a card. And may also draw a card if they are playing a character mentioned during the interpretation or revision phase, which will allow them a lens by which to play their character. So the other player who is involved, if that's Ates or Phalaris or Karis, will also draw a card to help them determine how they react to this turning point as well. And it will perhaps add mystery or depth to their character. So this galaxy card. So Tyler, you will draw your 3-card spread. You will share your first interpretation, including one player character in that interpretation. That player character will draw a card themselves, offer a revision based on their card, and then will maintain the round. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so I draw one card, and then the other person I mentioned draws the next card.
You will actually draw the other 2 cards of the spread.
Okay.
The first card, the Galaxy card, is the tone or nature of the turning point during the war. Is it political, deceitful, martial? The second card you will draw is the foundation. What was built or created? This can also be the execution, the manner of movement, the timing, or the place. And then the third card is the outcome of the turning point, the future, the site, the final word. It might be different than the intention. It might be opposed or different from the foundation. So draw all 3. If you want me to go over that spread again so you have a better idea for what to do, I will happily do that. And then after you look through all the cards and we'll look through our little booklets, you'll come up with the story. You will tap in one player character who will draw a card, offer their own revision, and then you will revise. The entire ascendancy will revise as normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to draw one card, and then... so this card is now... the turning... This is the tone.
No. So this card, Temperance, is your Galaxy card, and that's
Okay.
the tone.
That's the tone. All right.
So this card is the foundation, what was built or created or planned. It can also be the execution, the manner of movement, the timing, or the place.
Place. Okay. And then one more?
One more, please.
All right. Ace of Swords.
And this is the outcome, the future, the site, the final word. All right, so Temperance is balance, acceptance, consideration, compromise. Page of Pentacles is physical, earthly, initiative, and practical. It's connected to the earth in the natural plane. The page shows great initiative. And then the Ace of Swords is truth, reasoning, objectivity, and breakthrough. It's immediate. It is a symbol of majesty and power. It is a statement, a command, the clearest bell in a foggy world.
Okay.
So take your time. Think about a turning point for the Ascendancy or the Empire during the war, and then tap in a player, and then go through the revision.
Okay, I think at some point, I think there are kind of 2 ways to go. This could either be, the decision point when we decided upon our final plan and how we came, and it was kind of a compromise of multiple options, and, sacrificing our homeland was part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Or this is during a time period where we had like a temporary truce with the Empire, and then it fell apart extremely quickly and suddenly.
Why not both?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You're the smarty pants who came up with it. Why not both?
Yeah, I kind of like that. Like we have these 2 plans, and one of them is a truce, and the other is this kind of like apocalyptic weapon that we've come upon, and either we hedge our bets, or the truth comes tumbling down quickly, and we have no other options but to deploy this creation that we have.
Yeah, I think that works really well. I love that. Keep going.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how to tap somebody else in for this really fast.
Yeah.
I think it could be pretty much anybody, but I think I think Karis would probably be involved somehow, being the dispatcher. Like, do we have maybe the forced dispositions were not where we needed them, so we needed to look for other options, and we need to kind of like compromise our resources. So I'll tap Karis in.
Perfect. All right, Gabrielle, if you want to draw a card, please.
Okay.
And you can choose to keep this in your hand or you can choose to show it. This one's up to you, because this is sort of the way that this will help you interpret your characters.
That's perfect.
Well, that says it all.
We love to see it.
Wow.
What can you tell us about that card?
So the High Priestess is intuition, the unconscious, the inner voice, points on life's journey, that sort of thing. So I think this taps in our plasma cloud as well. But it also goes along with previous cards I've drawn that talk about unity and being able to see the big picture. So maybe she's in the room when the truce falls apart, as it were, and is one of the people who has to make the unanimous decision to unleash hell. Which has to be a unanimous decision, even though nobody really wants to go that way, because temperance, we want the middle path, we want patience. It's no longer available to us.
This is so good, because it really plays into what you guys said earlier about like having to reject a lot of what your society stood for in order to like make this achievable, right? Like temperance is like the last hope of your, like, maybe we can come to a moderate conclusion. And then that really fits in well with your character, who has said repeatedly throughout their life, like, you have to take action, you have to be bold and brave and like forge new paths. And I think that's a really great arc for you.
So then Ace of Swords becomes victory through raw strength as the outcome.
Damn.
The foundation is dreams, desire, opportunity, but no, raw strength.
Wow.
Oh. Tyler, you got any thoughts about this?
I'm trying to think why the sergeant would be there. I think he just happened, like he
someone has to deploy the weapon.
Yeah.
I think like for all the stuff that's been abandoned about the society, I think it's still kind of enough is still there that they wouldn't have someone do this who hadn't agreed to do it, and maybe like several people who might have been higher ranked refused or turned it down. Or decided to be in the sacrificial bit instead of pressing the button.
Yeah, I can like imagine, if I can jump in, like all four of us having a hand in this decision or this move, right? So it might be that Eights was involved in guarding it, or it physically like installing it, and Karis kind of was the one that came up with the specific, like the deployment plan, and Sergeant Davis was in charge of guarding the weapon, or maybe he was the man in the silo, like isolated and out on some like remote location who had to enter the code, right? And Phalaris is the one who like navigated the course to deliver it, and so we're kind of complicit in some way.
All right, I love it. Perfect. All right, well, if that does anyone have any final revisions or thoughts on this flashpoint, on the last action? All right,
This is all a really coherent story.
It really
Tara.
is.
Well done.
Tara does bullshit. Well done, you guys. You guys are the ones who are like going off, honestly. Yeah, so we actually got through that a little bit quicker than I thought, which is great. I'm sure everyone appreciates appreciates a fast game. All right, so we are going to now go to our final spread, and we don't actually need the galaxy card anymore for this. So I'm just going to bump us right over. So this is our final spread. There's no galaxy card. There is no Oculus. The person who would have been the Oculus last will shuffle and place these cards. So in this case, it's going to be Bashir. So,
All right.
So this is what we're going to do. You will place these cards without offering any interpretation. You will give people time to reflect. You will respond to each of the questions for your character, sort of allowing your character to end their story through these cards. And you will place one card from your character creation pile. So I will flash over 2 characters really quickly. So now we're on characters. So you're going to choose if you want to just like make a note here. So either Eugene or I will just drop the card. You will take one card from your character creation pile and add it underneath one of these 3 cards, the sun, the moon, or the stars. This card will represent what you desired most, what you wanted, what you changed, or what shifted within you. It can mean many things, but it should indicate your character at the end of the celebration, at the end of the war, or at the end of your life. The scenes here will be when a character slides their card under the spread, indicating the end of their story. You can role play this scene out, either alone or with other characters. Give your character the end they deserve. So if you want to make a note of your cards right very quickly, let me know when you're ready, and then I'll bring us back to Sun, Moon, and Stars. Cool. Tyler, Gabrielle, Bashir, all good?
One moment.
Okay.
Okay, I've got it.
Yay! All right, let's zoom forward again. Not there yet. Bam, final spread. All right, Bashir, if you would please draw 3 cards, and I would like you to put them, the first one on sun, the second one on moon, the third one on stars, and I'll read out some of the possible interpretations. All right, so that is 7 of wands.
No, 8.
8. Cool. All right. So, everyone, while I read, just take the time to sort of reflect on your character and where you think they ended up. So the sun, this is the rising, the righteous, the revival, the heart, the heat, the fury, the full-throated scream. What did you fight for? The moon, these are the ideals. And then there are the things that catch in your throat when you think about them. What are you grateful for? Then finally, the stars. When you celebrate, you look up and dream of what you have done and what others will know. What will you be remembered for? So, the 8 of wands is message, action, speed, and excitement. Their nature, more often positive than not, may vary, but they are important and pressing. Their speed, quickness, and adaptive reaction. It calls for movement and declarations. 2 of cups, which again is what are you grateful for, your ideals, the things that catch in your throat. The 2 of cups indicates a connection, a partnership, a union, or a romance. It represents connection in the darkness, It can signify an end to hostilities, seeing eye to eye, or an emerging partnership. And then finally, the stars, what you celebrate, what you look for, what will you be remembered for? The Emperor. Order, control, structure, and serenity. He is stern, rigid, direct. His realm is one of rules and organization, of staying responsible and dependable. His job may not be exciting, but it is essential. Restrictive, a well-planned structure allows for the propagation of creativity and ideas without veering into tendencies, as is the case in filling the pages of a storybook structured with paragraphs, chapters, and volumes. So, Bashir, if you would like to go through and respond to, just very quickly how each of these questions and cards relates to your character. So again, the sun is, what did you fight for? The moon, what are you grateful for? The stars, what will you be remembered for?
So, eights fought to send a message that there are things in the galaxy that cannot be put up with and that must be ended as decisively and quickly as possible, no matter the cost. He was grateful for the connections he made, however fleeting they were, and what was built in that cause and after that message was sent. And he is remembered because I think in the end, after the consequences are through and obstacles dealt with and the fallout settles and history books start being written, they pulled it off. And he in particular, I think, became a teacher of some kind, or either a teacher or a politician in the new order who would help make things more stable as they can. And we also choose which card we're putting forward, right? So if you could bring the King of Pentacles under stars.
Do you want me to grab that? I can do that if you want.
Great. So so that represents what you desired most, what you wanted, what changed. So I think that's a good ending for your character, is this very stable, learned person just working to continue learning and continue teaching and being that stability in the new world. That's a great end for your character. All right. Eugene.
Yes. Okay. So I reinterpret the sun, moon, and stars, describe my chosen card as well, and I'll ask you to grab it, Lynn, once I name it, so that I can talk and without playing with my mouse. So I'm going to say that the Eight of Wands is what I fought for. It's about feels like movement, right? It feels like action. So I'm going to say that the dark flame was oppressive, and I was, Phalaris rebelled and left the dark flame because of this, and so I fought for freedom, basically, and that the moon being union is that I am grateful that I was accepted by the ascendancy, right? Being a member of the dark flame, being able to connect with my crew, seeing them rely on me and trust me. I think the Two of Cups here is about trust. I mean, think about what would it take for an alien species you're at war with to have a defector come over and then be the person plotting the navigation for the armies? That's unusual, right?
A lot.
So that's what I'm most grateful for, that trust. What will I be remembered for? Stars, the Emperor, the responsibility, the steadiness, right? The role I played. But what happens next? The card I'd like you to grab for me is the Wheel of Fortune.
Okay.
Because it's where I began. It's where I was before the war. And that's how the Wheel of Fortune works. It comes back around again. And so I think that is going to be under... I think it's going to be under... Well, it could be under sun or under... stars. So I'll just put it under. I'm gonna put it under stars. All right. There's no. I can put it there too. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And here's what this represents to me. I think that so when we last saw our friend Phalaris, they were struggling with the nightmares, with the sense of responsibility.
Mhm.
And I think that they were trying to figure out a way to let go of, to the death card came up, right? To kill that person, the person that was plotting navigational paths through the universe, whose other people's lives were at stake. And I couldn't do it. I tried to put it behind me. But I realized I had to embrace it. That's the way the death happened. So now I think Phalaris pilots uncrewed ships. It's just Phalaris, responsible only for themselves, right?
Hey.
And they're exploring the stars, and this is what brings them peace and serenity, represented by the Emperor, the stability of, and I'm out charting the stars. I think that's what Phalaris is up to. Found peace that way.
Good for them. Oh, it's such a good ending. I also like the fact that like Phalaris' ending is very mild and soft, and it's just like you had so much responsibility, and now you're a cartographer, you're a map maker, like you're charting a new path, but you're also like not necessarily blazing a new path, you know?
Yeah.
I like it a lot. All right, Gabrielle, if you would reinterpret the sun, moon, and stars for your character.
Okay, so Karis fought for swiftness, the speed and the movement representing the swiftness of the war once they realized that peace wasn't possible.
Mhm.
And they're grateful for the partnership that allowed that sort of quick, decisive strike, and the many, species and beings and peoples who came together to make that happen. And the Emperor, the order, control, structure, she had a part in deciding what this future would be. And I think I want to bring forward the Two of Wands because she's still planning and discovering and making her designs come true. So I would put it under the sun because it's still a work in progress for her. We won the war, but we know there's a lot more to do.
I love it. And of course, like in a game with cards, you would actually put the cards like underneath the other cards. But obviously this way's prettier. Tyler, what happened to Sergeant? What did he fight for? What is he grateful for? What will he be remembered for? And where does he end up? I'm so excited.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things about Sergeant is like getting into the war was perhaps an impulsive decision. So for the sun, what did he fight for? That's kind of what that represents, is just like the decisiveness of making a decision and going and doing it.
Yeah.
And then for the ideals, I think he did for most of his time during the war, he did kind of like idealize, the new group they were bringing together, the new union. And I don't think Sergeant really realized how bad it was getting until close to the end. And what is he going to be remembered for? I think he probably made some uncomfortable decisions that just had to be made, and or at least that's the way he views them. Obviously, these are open to interpretation, but I think just being the person in control for certain parts of the story is what he's going to be remembered for. And then I think I will take the Hanged Man and put it underneath the moon card for ideals, because I think he realized he didn't really sacrifice as much as anybody else. So he kind of believes that in order to do whatever vision he has for the world, from as small a beginning as he's starting, he has to actually be willing to take responsibility for those things. Perfect. Even if he's going to start another war.
Wow.
Yeah, I like that, the idea that you're taking responsibility for ending those partnerships, ending those relationships, and starting the next war. Perfect. All right, so your characters are done. That's the end of the game. That's Stardrawn. That's it.
Yay. Wow. Fantastic.
All right.
So I guess at this point we'll do what we normally do, which is stars and wishes. Who would like to go first? Highlighting things they wanted to star and wishing for things for future episodes or sessions.
I'll go first because it's my game.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Honestly, listening to you guys play this game and interact with it and really think very, very thoughtfully and critically and hopefully about the game and the way it worked was really, really cool. I've only ever been a player in this game, so being able to watch it and sort of watch you all play it is really, really cool. So it's definitely a big, big star. Wishes, just I don't know, maybe having more time or something, but honestly, I don't have any. I thought it was really fun.
Great. You don't need any. Stars are fine. We are all stars. Anybody else who'd like to go next? I'll go around then. I'll force you all to go. Bashir, would you like to speak next?
Okay. I really liked the way the game created these emerging narratives of our characters' relationships with the war and how it changed us. And I really enjoyed how it kind of changed how I was expecting some of the narrative, the character narratives, to go from the start. I was originally kind of assuming that 8's narrative was going to default to being very depressing, and it ended up being less so, especially with some of the suggestions people gave in. I liked the way that you approached a cooperative tarot reading game, which is a lot of fun. Wishes, I would like to try out another game like this. It solves a lot of the issues I had with Microscope. So, yeah.
So, a sneak peek behind the curtain. I have approached Exalted Funeral with this game, and they expressed an interest in publishing it. Of course, I dropped the ball, and I haven't gotten back to them.
Now you can get back to them with a video clip, and this is on YouTube tomorrow. You can say, here it is being run.
Yeah. So I think basically what I want to do is I want to create this sort of collaborative tarot game as a system that you would be able to reinterpret for other settings and genres. Of course, the way that I've set it up lends itself well to an epic space opera, huge dynamic, but I would like to figure out a way to make this system a system that you could just port into any setting or genre or whatever. So, but yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. I like that you enjoyed that collaboration, because that's what I would love for more people to do in games.
Tyler, would you like to go next?
Yeah, no, that was really fun. I was glad we really had enough time to, think about it. I was kind of worried about that, but it paced out very well with, reading the descriptions of the cards would give me a couple seconds to figure something out. But it was also nice. We could always kind of go back and rewrite things if we really cared about it. wishes, I don't know, just I think be careful with how you interpret your initial cards, I guess is what I'd warn the next people. Because like I liked kind of taking a villain stance, but I was pretty reluctant to actually kind of like change that unless we went to the future in like a minor event or something. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But I do kind of wish we got to see major, minor, major.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I guess I'll go. That's me. Oh no, Gabrielle, we haven't heard from you yet. Gabrielle, go ahead.
I love this. I ditto what Bashir said and what Tyler said about the pacing and having time to formulate things without feeling too rushed, and just the way that the cards and the facilitating really made the narrative structure, and it all came full circle and it all made sense and it fit and it was just beautiful. And I know you're going to give the tarot full credit for that, but some of it is you.
I'm giving you guys full credit.
Like Tyler, I would have liked to see the rest of those spreads at the end. And also, I don't know how effective this game would have been without you facilitating it.
Thank you.
So, you know, you did a great job leading us through, but if we'd had to, you know, if we were playing this as a home game and going through it, okay, reading the instructions and which spread do we do now and what's the galaxy card now, I think I would have been confused. But I trust you to write explicit directions, and you know the sheet that you gave us was very clear for what it was, but I wasn't able to visualize it until we played it. But now I feel like I could go facilitate this game for someone else, and I understand it.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, that.
And I also would love to see different play sets with different settings and and the same system.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's related to one of the stars I wanted to mention too, which is I kind of touched on this I think at off camera at break, which is like the character building, just the 3 spreads, and then every character does their own 3-card spread, and then you do a bond card. That like I might just steal that and use that in like my next whatever D&D game or something. Like I think that's a great engine mechanism, and then doing the next stage that which in this case was the celebration after a war, but like you're describing, I could totally see that being kind of like generalized to a setting building kind of more generally in a different genre, fantasy or horror or whatever. And that would be, I really liked how flexible the systems were, and then to build the scenes out of it in the actual game was really great too. So I thought it was a really fun way, and I was really impressed with everyone's, it's like, it's this weird alchemy. It's like the cards, the system you've built, and the players created this really coherent narrative. Like I was a movie playing out in my head, while the story was going on, or it could be a book, a novel. And so that's really impressive that a game can do that. So props to that for sure. All right. Well, if no one else says anything, I will just direct everyone one more time to visit the link below. We'll take you to Linda's itch page, which has this game available and several others. And if Exalted Funeral is watching, get on this game right now. You're missing an opportunity if you don't. I'm telling you. All right. So we have our next session is Saturday, and we're playing. I think we're playing some Dungeons and Dragons. We're going to visit the Feywild. And that's actually going to be a lot of fun. And then next Tuesday we play some Cypher System, and next Thursday we play Bashir's D&D game It Hungers. All right, so thanks everybody, and I hope you all have a good evening. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.